Oh, yeah. I can't grow anything up here, so I had to go down there. Cover up some of this. Okay.
So on occasion, sometimes we'll have like a little right here, like this version, but that's everything.
That's the book.
So I remember.
I gave them
So yeah, so I like to
there we go. We were just chatting. I don't mind. It was a beautiful walk. You are
Very good. I can imagine.
Here you go.
Everyone will gather in. We're going to get started here in a minute. Sure, what else? And for those of you who might have trouble standing, we have a few extra seats up front. Feel free to move in a little closer. Feel free to come on. Oops. It is. I see something. All right. Come on in.
Give me that too.
You can have it. And again, if there's anyone who has trouble standing, we have.
Where's your chair, baby? Down.
Oh, no, I'm good.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, now. No, comfortable. Okay.
Well, listen, I want to thank all of you for joining us here as we celebrate, and I do mean celebrate, the 9th anniversary of Muhammad's passing. And the reason we celebrate is because
He's still with us. He's still with us.
he's still with us. Exactly. He's still with us in so many meaningful ways. While he's not here in a physical sense, he left us so many incredible gifts that continue to help build his legacy. And every year since his passing, we've come here to Cave Hill Cemetery to share words, to acknowledge what he means to all of us. And today we want to share a few words in memory of Muhammad and his life, to celebrate his legacy. And I'll start by sharing that 9 years ago, I can recall vividly that Nicole Yates, where's Nicole Yates? Nicole Yates got me tickets to go to the memorial service at the Yum Center. For those of you who weren't here, it did require tickets and it was a sellout. It was incredible to see so many people come from around the world, the Netherlands and near and far, to celebrate the life of this man who was raised right here in Louisville, in West Louisville, who had such a profound impact on the world. And I remember that service that day and felt like as I went into that service as a young boy who grew up here in West Louisville, the same neighborhood where Muhammad was born and raised, that I felt like I knew him. I felt like, having lived in this community, having heard so many stories from those who had grew up with Muhammad, like some of my own family members who went to Central High School with him, and rode the bus with him on the days that he decided to ride instead of running beside the bus on the way to school. Those were real experiences that I heard over and over again growing up. And like everyone else, I watched on television and I read the magazine articles and I understood that this man was more than just a boxer. But it was in that moment after the memorial service that it became clear to me that he was so much more than what I had even come to understand. And now, all these many years later, as the president and CEO of the Muhammad Ali Center, I can tell you that my understanding of Muhammad has expanded even more. That's because in this role, I get to almost every single day hear a story from someone who wants to share with me their interaction with Muhammad, their experience with Muhammad. They want to help me understand what he meant to them. And in those encounters, it becomes really clear to me that we have only scratched the surface in understanding his impact on the world, what he meant and who he was and what he accomplished. Many of us know all the things that he did in the bright spotlights. We can recite those, we know them, we understand them. But there were so many encounters that he had with many of you, myself, and so many others that never made the media, but changed the trajectory of people's lives. And that's the Muhammad that we pause to recognize right now. A Muhammad that I've come to understand in a fuller sense that is so much more than what the media tells you.
Oh, yes.
And Lonnie telling me that Muhammad, if he could, would have something sweet to eat with every meal. He was just like us in that sense. That Assad, Muhammad's son, told me the story of how they would drive down the interstate and Muhammad would roll down the window because he wanted people to see him in the car. And almost caused wrecks because people would rubberneck and turn around and say, "Is that Muhammad?" And these were the small examples and understandings of who he was and what he meant to people. I've heard over and over again people who told me about the experience that they had with Muhammad when he would show up to the grocery store in West Louisville in a vehicle that was full of Qurans. And he would stand out in front of the grocery store and hand out Qurans, autographed Qurans to people in the community with no security. And somebody asked the question, why don't you have security? And he said, do you know who I am? I have walking security. But it wasn't that he felt like he needed these. The reason Muhammad didn't need security was because he was of the people.
Right.
He connected with the people. You don't have to be afraid of the people if you are connected to the people. And he was never afraid to be amongst people, which makes good sense when you think about how he was able to roam and connect with people in these incredibly unique ways. You know, we recognize now the word influencer. Well, Muhammad was an influencer before influencer became a word. And he was an influencer before social media existed.
Yeah.
He was an influencer before the internet came to be. And the reason he was able to become an influencer wasn't because people were liking and sharing his post online. It was because instead of sitting in hotels when he went to different cities around the world, he would get out of those spaces and go to the places where people would convene and spend time with those people one-on-one, shaking hands, kissing babies, creating experiences that lived in people's hearts. And that is what I call a true influencer.
What's your name?
Someone who used his powers for good.
What's your name?
My name is Devon Holt. he used his power for good, and he did it in a way that touched people in deep and meaningful ways. And so because of that, we know that he was so much more than just a boxer.
Oh,
And we all have our own understanding of what he meant to us. And I think it's because he lived what seemed to be so many different lives that we all grab at the one that resonates most with us.
right.
Some of us remember him as the boxer in the boxing ring. Some of us remember him as an activist who decided to stand up for what he felt was right and made incredible sacrifices because he did not believe in war. Some of us remember him after he left the boxing ring and commitments he made to help people find better pathways in their lives and serving as a humanitarian. He served in so many different capacities and showed up in life in so many different ways. But I'll tell you quickly before I pass this podium on to Lonnie that he showed up in three unique ways for me that help continue to shape in my mind who he is and help me understand what not only he meant to me, but what he meant to so many others. You know, on my desk in my office is a photo. And that photo was one of the last few times that I had a chance to meet and interact with Muhammad. And it was actually at the Muhammad Ali Center, maybe 2009, 10, maybe 11, somewhere in there. And walked into a private event, and when I walked through the door, there was a line. And at the front of that line was Muhammad, sitting in a chair with an empty chair next to him. And the line was for people to sit next to him and take a photo. It's supposed to be a quick moving line. You take a photo with the champ and you move on. And I was excited because I wanted my picture taken with the champ. I wanted my picture taken. And so I stood in line, and as I was standing in line, I started to recognize that Muhammad, who, as we all know at that time, had Parkinson's and was wrestling with that and seemed to be growing weary as he was taking pictures. And I love the champ, and I didn't want to contribute to him having to endure any more time sitting taking pictures than he had already committed to. And so I stepped out of the line, hoping to lighten his burden. But when I stepped out of line, he waved his hand and he flagged me up. And like anybody else would have, I looked and said, "You talking to me?" And he said, yes. He waved me up. He patted on the seat next to him as if to say, "Sit down." When I looked at him, he looked at me, pointed his finger at the camera as if to say, "Now smile. Let's take our picture." And what that said to me was, He was a man that I was trying to accommodate because he looked like he was growing weary. But instead, he saw me about to abandon an opportunity that I really had hoped to have with him. And he made it happen despite the fact that I skipped line and jumped in front of other people to have that experience. It said to me that he had a keen awareness of other people. The other example that I remember very vividly was maybe a year or two after that. I was having breakfast at the Marriott downtown Louisville. And Lonnie and the family were there, and they were having breakfast with Muhammad. And they came down into this area, and I'll never forget the waiter. Lonnie, you didn't know me then, but the waiter asked if I would move because he wanted you and the family to have a private place to eat. And Lonnie, not knowing who I was, said, let him sit there. And so I sat there, and I was enamored because I got to eat next to the champ. But in that moment, I recognized something different about the champ that I had never seen. A champ who, again, at the time had Parkinson's. And he was there with his family. And I watched the champ feed himself. And I will tell you, it wasn't the cleanest of processes. You watched him work through what anyone with Parkinson's would work through to try to feed himself. And I remember asking myself, oh, why wouldn't they feed him? Why would they allow him to do that? And it became really clear to me, someone explained that Muhammad was never afraid to be himself.
Right.
He was never afraid to be who he was. And that was a lesson that I learned, that not only did he have a keen awareness of other people, he had a keen understanding of who he was, and he never ran from it. And I think that's one of the things that we all love. And then lastly, I will tell you, one of my memories that will last with me forever and help me understand Muhammad's legacy was when I worked at Jefferson County Public Schools. And the Muhammad Ali Center at the time had a partnership with Yum Brands, and were doing gardens in schools around the community. And they came to Kennedy Montessori Elementary School to announce this garden bed that they were going to establish. And I remember helping the school get prepared for this visit from Muhammad Ali. And I'll never forget wondering and being nervous about how the children might respond. Yes, Muhammad's my hero, but I'm of a certain age, and I had a certain experience and a certain understanding of who he was. And I didn't want him to walk into this space where these young people didn't give him the royal treatment that I felt like he deserved. But something happened that changed my understanding about Muhammad that day. Because the kids sat and they were waiting for him to enter, and he and Lonnie walked into the space. And when they walked in, the kids went crazy. They went crazy, as if Muhammad had just knocked out George Foreman, as if they had experienced that themselves. Now, keep in mind, Muhammad's boxing career had been long over. Parkinson had set in by that time, and they had not seen him in his glory. But there was something about his essence. There was something about his presence. There's something about his story and his life that still continues to resonate with people. And it was that day that it dawned on me that this man's legacy goes far beyond anything any of us will ever know. And it became really clear to me that day that this is a man from Louisville who grew to be so incredibly famous that he has fans, I'm convinced, that haven't even been born yet. And because of that, his legacy will continue, and will continue to show up here year after year to acknowledge a man who made a difference in the world. Thank you.
Good brother.
I was married to Muhammad for over 30 years, but that's a hard act to follow. First, I want to thank everybody for being here this morning, taking time out of your day to come share a few moments with me and Muhammad. And I want to recognize a few people. Muhammad's brother, Rahman, is here, and his wife, Caroline, as well as some repeat visitors. Our gentleman here, our friend here from New Orleans, who comes every year, and as well as Butch over there, who keeps vigil and watches over Muhammad's grave for the whole time that we're here for the Ali Fest. And we have a lot of repeat visitors here this year as well. And everybody that's new, we have board members here, thank you, and staff. So I just want to appreciate all of you, let you know I appreciate you, and don't take any of this for granted. But it is because of Muhammad that we're here, and it has been 9 years, and it seems like it was 2. Doesn't seem like that much time has passed, but his legacy is alive, and it's well, and it's preserved at the Ali Center. And I know Muhammad would be so happy. And as Devon said, he may have left us in the physical, but in spirit and essence, this man is still here. I know it. I feel it every day. And I know he's here this morning. He's here this morning. But the one thing I want everyone to understand is that Muhammad was a unique individual. I heard somebody mentioned the other day that Muhammad was a unicorn. And he was somebody very, very special that I believe God put his hand on from the womb, because I met Muhammad when I was 6, and he was the essence of that man was there then. But all of us are here. All of us have witnessed some part of Muhammad's life. We all have an Ali story. Most of us do. But one thing I want to impart upon you, if you want to honor this man and his legacy, Muhammad was curious. He was curious about people. He was always curious. He was curious about meeting people. That's why he traveled all over. And wherever he set his foot down on earth, that was home. And those people in that area, that locale, that was his family. They were his brothers and sisters. They were one with him, and they knew it. They knew that love was real. So I encourage you to be curious. Reach out to people that you don't know, that look different than you, that think different than you, that vote different from you. Make that connection like Muhammad did. The second thing, he was courageous. He was courageous in his stance for social justice, for equality, for all people, wanting to uplift everyone, not just his own people, but everyone. Uplift them and give them opportunity and hope, because that was one thing we witnessed when we would travel the world. There were little kids whose whole lives were in front of them, and we could see that light had gone out in their eyes. That's why the center exists today, because we wanted to give that hope back to them, that there is a possibility and an opportunity to grow up, to be happy and healthy and prosper. The second thing was compassion. The third thing is compassion. It's one of the things that we have taken hold of Muhammad's legacy at the Ali Center. Muhammad was the torchbearer of compassion. Everyone he met, he showed compassion. People he didn't know on the street, he showed compassion. People that never met him felt that compassion. That's why you saw what you saw 9 years ago on June 10th in this city. And this city showed compassion to all those visitors, the thousands and thousands of visitors that came here. And Devon mentioned it was a sold out event, but it wasn't a sellout. It was a sellout, but there was no money charged. We had to have tickets to keep count, but everybody was welcome. And it was exactly the way Muhammad had imagined it to be. Because when he told us that you have to plan these things, it's horrible. I hated doing it, but it was something that was impressed upon me that needed to be done, and that they were right. But Muhammad told me that he wanted his funeral in a large arena. And I thought, oh my God, Muhammad, what are you talking about? People don't do that. And all I could see was a football stadium, like U of L's football stadium, in this casket, these people gathering all these empty seats. I go, Muhammad, no. He goes, no, my fans will come. They will come. That time, the Yum Center hadn't been built. So we had a task force that was going around looking at places in Louisville. The only place I could think of was, the Yums was the U of L football field. But who knew when, that's not no time or day or year when you're going to be, your time of death. So who knew if that was going to work? So it wasn't really an option. But he impressed upon me, it has to be someplace big so all my fans can come. And then they built the Yum Center. God must have known. I got to build this center for this man, make sure this happens. And he was right. He was absolutely right. So many people came that Mayor Fisher went out Thursday morning. His funeral was on a Friday. Mayor Fisher went out Thursday morning. And Mayor Fisher was fantastic. He was the right mayor at the right time. He opened his whole office up. Nicole helped lead that charge as well to anything the center needed, anything we needed. And he went out at like 4 or 5 in the morning, this man did, and went down to the Yum Center. And he saw this line of people from the ticket window all the way wrapped around 2nd Street Bridge and over into Indiana. And he thought, oh my God, there is not going to be enough room because of fire regulations for all these people to be able to sit inside and witness and be a part of this ceremony. And everybody was here. Everybody was here. And so he called and asked, he said, Lonnie, do you mind if I put Jumbotrons out on the plaza deck of the Yum Center and down 4th Street so those people who cannot gain access can participate as well? And I said, fantastic. Yes, Muhammad would love that. So that's what he did. So even though people weren't able to get in, they were able to be a part of, which is exactly what Muhammad wanted. And the whole ceremony of everything that happened that day was just as Muhammad said it would be. In fact, President Clinton called me a couple of weeks later to check on me, and he said, Lonnie, I don't think I'll ever witness anything like that again. He goes, you had people there from everywhere. And it was heads of states from all over the world, people from all kind of political persuasions, and even on stage, which is what Muhammad wanted. Muhammad always used every example to teach people something through his example. As Devon said, just watching Muhammad and paying attention, he learned something about the man. And there was so much. He wasn't a preacher per se of telling you what he wanted you to do, but he wanted to lead by example, which he did. And one of the things that we do at the Ali Center is we want to continue to inspire people to be the best that they can be. For him to be that living example, and even now in his passing, to still be that vibrant, living example of how we should be toward everyone. And normally I don't do this, and I'm going to impose upon Larry, because Larry came up to me prior to all of this starting and shared a story with me, and it never ceases to amaze me how this man every day has inspired someone. And I have to tell you, I come here often when I'm in town, and there's never been a time I've been here where there is somebody just leaving, somebody here, or somebody coming. And I have met people from all over the world here who make it a point to stop here in Louisville, Kentucky, to come visit this man. And that's why you see it like you see it now with these benches as Butch is sitting on one, because we knew people would want to come and spend time with Muhammad. So Larry, I'm going to indulge upon you because I don't want to keep you all too much longer. Come share your story that you told me this morning, if you may. And I'm sorry to do this to you. Is that okay?
That's it.
Okay.
Good evening, y'all. My name is Larry Smith. I'm born and raised here in Louisville, Kentucky. I live here all my life. I have three siblings. I have 2 older sisters and a brother. I lived in the projects. Unfortunately, my dad moved to California, and I was about 4 years old. And so I knew from her that I probably wouldn't see him in a while because the distance. So I knew my situation. I didn't have a dad. I had a dad, but I didn't have a dad, a present dad. But by the grace of God, Ali came in my life. I watched Ali, and what he taught me was, despite where you come from, matter your situation, you can still be somebody. So I knew then that even though I came from the projects, that I could be somebody. Ali taught me not only that I could be somebody, be a good person. Love your neighbors, your friends, people that you don't know. A smile could go a long way. So Ali touched me in that manner that changed my life. I knew I didn't have to be a gangbanger or a thug or even what was around me in my surroundings, because I'd seen his courage, that he stood up and he was proud to say he came from Louisville, Kentucky. And that meant a lot to me because that's where I'm from. So I just wanted to let Lonnie know and everyone else know that despite what you go through in life, I know we all have trials and tribulations. But sometimes you got to look at the heroes that's in your life, that makes a difference in your life, that try to lead you down the right path in your life. So you can say, I am somebody. Thank you,
Thank you,
son.
Larry. Thank you so much. Appreciate you sharing that. So if I can leave you all today with three things. Remember, be curious. Go out and meet people you don't know. Share something with somebody you have nothing in common with. Have courage. Have courage to cross those barriers, to stand up and stand for what is right, for equal justice for everybody. And even if Muhammad was ridiculed many times for his stance, but it never kept him from making friends with people across the aisle, across the divides. Have the courage to do that. And lastly, compassion. Flex that compassion muscle each and every day. Be nice. Be kind. Think of others. Because that's what he did. It was something he practiced every day, something he taught me and his kids. In fact, so much so that Hannah and Layla, when they were little, they used to see their father do this, help the people on the street, the poor, the homeless. That they were little. They took their allowance money and got on their bikes going down Wilshire Boulevard trying to find homeless people they can give their money to. That's true. That's a true story. Because that was the example he set. And there's one other person I want to recognize today because she walked all the way over here from the Marriott. I know I'm going to do this to you. I know it, but I appreciate you so much. She follows what we do at the center, and she's here for a conference, and she knew this was happening today. And this young lady, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Yitka from Czech Republic, she told me Muhammad is adored and loved. I wasn't surprised, but it's nice to hear. She walked all the way over here from the Marriott, but we're going to make sure that she gets back. Yes. But that's the kind of inspiration this man leaves us. And hopefully he inspires you today to practice curiosity, courage, and compassion. Thank you.
We have 300 roses that are accessible and available to everyone who has a desire to lay one on the site here. So feel free to grab a rose if you so desire. And that concludes our time today. Thank you.
Yes, sir.